Joyce LaVoie is a dreamer, and in the forest overlooking the Long Prairie River, she and her husband, Richard, built her dream.
For many, many years I dreamt about building this tree house and did all kinds of research, bought all the Peter Nelson books about how to build a tree house, and you know, the idea just kept growing and growing, and of course my husband kept trying to talk me out of it, and then I just finally just kept talking more and more about it and saying this is where we'd build it, this is how we'd do it. And then finally got to the point where I actually started buying stuff for the inside of it before we even had a spot picked out or a place to put it. So it was definitely a dream that I never ever let go, and it's great. We started clearing the land, and we had a hard time trying to actually pick out the land that we were going to be putting it on. I have some land east of Browerville, and that was kind of a choice and an option. But we decided to have it here, close to our house, and
we got the practical uses as well. Our house is small; it's just a two-bedroom house, and for us too, it's big enough. But occasionally our kids come and we have family come, so we talked about doing an addition, and that didn't sound like a good idea. So then we decided on maybe a guest house. Then why not this tree house? So that's has some practical purposes as well. And when the kids come home, they fight over who gets to sleep out there. So.
Now, does that work at Christmas time?
it does, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I know you have a wood stove in it, so that must keep it pretty cozy.
If it's above 0, 10 below, you can stay comfortable in there. After that, it gets a little...
Yeah, it's all insulated, you know, top, bottom, and underneath, of course, which is really, really important in a tree house. And so yeah, it stays pretty nice. When we first built it, we had a lot smaller stove in it than we have, and realized that that wasn't going to do the trick. So we're on our second little wood stove, but this one works great. So
how this got built is I do excavating and have dozers and dump trucks, and I wanted to expand our shop. I was measuring up to see where I should put this in and add on to this my shop for winter work, and it was a week, or was it a couple weeks after 9/11. And Joyce came over there and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I want to add on to the shop." She said, "All you do is work," she said. And I said, "You know, you're right." She said, "Why don't we build this tree house instead?" So we just took the measuring tape over and started sizing up trees, and that's the direction we went. So that's
the shop never did get built.
No, and I never did build a shop, but I still got my equipment fixed. So.
Now, did you have to do a little research to, or did you know that it had to be oak trees, or what led to that?
It doesn't necessarily have to be oak trees. It just has to be a sturdy tree, and the importance is that whatever you put onto it, that it can withstand the weight of the tree house, plus also the fact that you want to keep it living. Right. And so yeah, we did tons of research on the internet and just everything about how you make them. And luckily, we have the 3 trees that it's actually on are all oak, and so that, you know, they're very sturdy, and they've been just healthy. And when we first built it, my husband, after every storm, would come back to see if the treehouse was still standing, and he didn't have much faith in having a real treehouse in the trees. So.
It's a lot of weight up there, and the main thing, if you're going to, when it's in 3 trees, so you have to have something, when the trees blow in the wind, they don't move the same. So if you put a beam between them, so what I did is made steel brackets, and then made a beam out of white oak and a truss kind of, and it can slide in this bracket, and it'll wiggle back and forth, and then we lagged it into the tree, and it seems like it's held up fairly well and still sitting up straight. So part of the construction is we had some idea what we were doing, and It was like October when we were doing it, and I was
Yes,
busy
October 4th.
digging and working,
That's when we
and
started.
it's a busy time of year for me. And so then we have a neighbor down the road, and he's very artistic and has some building skills. So we told him what we wanted and showed him the trees, and then he came back with a plan, and it got to be quite a bit bigger. And he laid out the floor plan. Him and his neighbor then came, and we put a deck on it. Then in a few days, that went pretty quick, and he framed it up. And then after that, we pretty much did it ourselves. Our kids came home, and they had boyfriends that helped out, and so we kind of then actually you started in October, and by Christmas we were in there pretty well, and then it kind of a weekend project at a time we kind of kept working on it till it's about done.
When we built it, it definitely wasn't built kind of for a bed and breakfast type thing, but as people came to visit, they wondered if they could spend time, stay overnight, and so we've hosted a lot of different things, garden clubs, book clubs, some luncheons that we cater in food and stuff like that. So it's been good little venture.
How many people have come and stayed here? Have you kept track?
Oh boy, lots.
And we really haven't counted, but I have a huge book that everybody signs that's almost full. So it's
many different countries: New Zealand, Sweden, Australia, England. I can't even begin to remember. Interesting, non-interesting people, every walk of life. So.
One of the best stories that I know and I'd like to share with people about the treehouse is whenever I bring out breakfast in the morning, I always like to ask them how they slept. And one night this past summer, I had a grandmother with 3 of her grandchildren out here. And they had a little boy that was about maybe 8 or 9, and so when I asked him how he slept, his eyes got big, and he just said, "I didn't hardly sleep at all. I woke up about 1 o'clock, and I heard something out on the deck, and I went from window to window trying to see what it was. And finally, I saw a raccoon out on the deck eating one of my Rice Krispie bars, and he was so disgusted, but just could tell that he had a wonderful time and would have a great story to share with his friends back at school when the summer season was over. So there's tons of little stories that always go with every visit, and some of them just stick in your mind and memory a little bit more than others. So
I remember a time, it's from people from Chicago. It came, that guy and his 2 sons. Remember that
Oh,
one?
yes.
And there was tornado warnings. And the wind was blowing, and we were just laying in bed. Joyce woke me, she said, "Blowing, go out and get those people, see what they're going to..." I said, "You go out there, I'm not going to go outside."
Well, somebody had dropped them off. It was a father and he had twin sons that were 12, and it was their 12th birthday, and he just thought it was going to be a great time. And before I left that night, I said to him, "There is an umbrella hanging behind the door if you need to come in." And evidently they chose to ride the storm out, and their entry into the journal is absolutely wonderful. They just have a great story about the night that they spent out in the treehouse. So, yeah.
Lifetime memories.
I
Yes.
Yeah. There's kind of an unusual arrangement by which a guest can come and stay here, right? Can you tell us about that?
Well, whenever people ask or inquire about coming to the treehouse, I always tell them that their restful nesting is free. And it's they have to buy the t-shirt in order to get to come and stay. And actually a lot of it is bought for wedding anniversaries, honeymoons, weddings, birthdays, grandparents bringing their grandchildren and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a little unusual form of admittance into your overnight stay, but it's great. And I also do give a lot of for benefits, you know, give a free night away, and it kind of gets to be word of mouth, and what you give out, it comes back sevenfold. So yeah, that's been nice, and that's one of the nicest things that I enjoy about having the treehouse is that We can't be back here all the time. I love sharing it. I love getting to meet all the new people, and especially we have a lot of metro people just need to come out to get away and be in the peace and quiet and just the beauty of the woods, the smell of it, and the birds and animals, and yeah, it's great.
I think one of the unusual features about the location here, we should talk about the forest and what is, how this forest is really special. Because when we were here in the spring, there were some beautiful wildflowers that you wouldn't normally expect to see in a woods where there have been cattle.
Yeah.
So, you want to tell us about that?
This particular piece of land was homesteaded by the Hills, who lived just across the road, good family friends of ours. And this was part of their farm, and then they've sold this off. But this particular woods has never been pastured. The trees are particularly, you see some woods are all kind of bent up and twisted, the trees, and these are just nice, straight. Evidently it's never had a tornado or a high wind come through here. But then the other thing is it's never been pastured. So in this we just have all kinds of wildflowers. We have trillium, crazy trillium. I've never seen trillium. It's like you sprinkle Kleenex all over the wood. Somebody was just running around with 10 boxes of Kleenex and throwing them out. And through the year, different things come up that you don't necessarily see, and I guess that's because if it's been grazed and pastured, it kind of tramps it down. But this is just pretty much virgin soil and not been driven on too much, so a little bit different.
Lots of jack-in-the-pulpits, lots of just even now the late fall asters are blooming, and so when I bring out breakfast in the morning for people who are staying, it often includes some of the wildflowers that are in the woods and blooming at the time. So yeah, it's beautiful, smells good. Great ferns. Yeah, just nice, very pure.
It's amazing what you can buy for $125. A t-shirt, an evening bottle of wine, a delicious breakfast, and a lifetime memory of spending a night in the forest in a treehouse. A unique and peaceful place to escape, where even the bears are friendly.